January 13th. And this is at 7 p.m. It's a meeting of the Marina Advisory Committee. And it is via Zoom. And Mia has set this up. Thank you, Mia.
You're welcome. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Jay.
Sure, thank you. And we can start out with announcements and open session. Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, Mike's retirement. Mike finally retired, and I'd like to give a big thank you to him for 25 years worth of taking.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any
yeah, maybe we should send him a letter of thanks from the committee.
Sure, you appreciate that.
Can everybody hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I lost everybody for a second. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Are there any other announcements? Okay, we have the minutes from December the 2nd. Last time we held a full meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody need a few minutes?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the December 2nd minutes?
I'll make a motion. We accept them.
Martha?
One second.
Flip, did you second?
Yes.
Yeah. Taking the minutes here. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. We can now move to the minutes from January the 6th. And does anybody have a motion for that? Very brief meeting.
I make a motion we accept the minutes as printed.
Walter? Okay, second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Martha, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that just a blank page? No.
Oh, the meeting was postponed. We voted.
Right. So it was about one line, right? Just to say
yeah.
It was adjourned right after.
Well, we opened it and we closed it.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Right.
Okay. So moving on the agenda, we are ready for the report from Will. Will, you have your report?
Yes. Sorry, I'm playing with the volume here. Well, dredging has been done for the season. So now we have quite a bit more water in here. That's our biggest and latest. We pretty much on these low tides that we've had right now, we got water up to the boat ramp. We got water up to the fuel dock and the front docks. We got water around the transient dock, approximately 3 to 4 feet at the low points around those, coming out to the center where there's like an 10-foot hole in there. Then it shoals off from to behind the pilings and nooks and crannies where it goes down to back to the mud because it hasn't sloshed back down yet. Currently, we're working with DPW to dig out here. If anyone's been down here, they've noticed a lot of dirt up in front of Max on the public beach there. We've been digging that out with the excavator and the front loaders, that whole area. What we're trying to do now is if we can get a larger excavator, hire one for a couple of days to dig out more of that corner that we couldn't reach underneath the mosquito dock and around the bulkhead by the fuel dock. If he can get down in there, and the town will come and scoop it up and put it in the piles to reuse for beach nourishment down the road.
Who was going to do that, Will?
We're not sure yet. We're trying to get estimates from contractors on that because the town excavator doesn't have a long enough reach to need a bigger machine. So the town got all they could with their excavator in those areas, and they couldn't really reach the sidewalk area, but they did get quite a bit out under the mosquito dock. So that's currently what we're working on.
How much did they actually get done of that 50,000 cubic yard?
Around 38,000.
Like 2/3, basically.
Yeah, that's what we paid.
Oh, okay, okay. You
Yeah,
pay them by the yard?
anything that was over 7 feet was not paid for.
Oh, okay.
How deep is the water, like near the fuel dock at low mean?
I think in certain parts it was approximately 3 or 4 feet.
Not bad.
Yeah, because it's shouldered up from the center. So
That could change over the winter.
yeah, that's the hope, is that it kind of sloughs down into those holes because they ran out of time to dig out further and get more
Right.
deep.
Yeah. They were in pretty tight a couple times there, but
And how about in the area off the courtesy dock, you know, between the launch ramp and the fuel dock I imagine that's a lot better than it was now, isn't it?
Correct. That's about the same. It's shouldered up into there too. And then of course that gravel side of the ramp, they didn't come into that last piling at the ramp.
Right.
Underneath that. So that'll take time to wash down that any overlying mud into the hole. And that kind of channels back around and shoals up in that corner because they didn't get on the inside of that nook and cranny and dig into there.
Right. That's about where they stopped, isn't it?
Yeah.
we don't want to undermine that ramp either.
No.
No.
Anything else, Will?
Not currently that I can think of.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Now, do you have any assistants working for you right now?
No, it's just myself here.
That's going to make it tough to do all that fun stuff you wanted to do this winter.
Yeah, like build float.
Now, yeah, right now what I'm working with, I asked Maria for permission to bring back the assistants onto the new year. Working with the accountant to figure out what's left in our budget of this year to get them to come back in and build docks, do other kinds of maintenance so we can get that ramped up. And as soon as we get a budget from accounting, we can figure out how much money we have to spend before the summer comes in.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you guys like scrape all the barnacles off of those things to lighten them up, or is that like not even like part of the equation?
No.
You never
They
did.
fall off.
Yeah, they fall off. Some of them scrape. Sometimes we're not doing anything. If we're just cleaning it or waiting for something, you'll sit there with a scraper and hit them.
Yeah.
Can they be power washed off?
The barnacles, you could, but it'd be
That'd be a mess.
focus on the
Wow.
Yeah.
or cleaning the top of them and the bottoms.
I was just thinking, like all these people that are bored and don't have anything to do, we could give them something to do.
There you go. My other question is, would there be possibility of getting somebody from the DPW to get down there and bang together some floats? Or is that not, are those guys straight out?
I don't know. One of the hopes is that if we get permission to build them, that we might be able to work with the DPW to build them over there.
Oh, okay.
Which would probably make that a lot better.
Be a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we do get permission, that's one thing I'll ask the DPW is if we could use a space in that garage for a little bit of time.
Yeah, because two guys get a lot more work than one guy.
Right.
You know, stuff like that.
Yep, for sure. That's those docks. I built them by myself, and I built them with others, and it's a lot easier to move around complicated pieces with them.
Yeah, moving lot of lumber like that, you get a helper is really valuable, for sure.
Yeah, each one, because each one weighs about 2,000 pounds. So.
Oh yeah.
A lot of wood.
And why?
What about,
why? Oh, go ahead.
no, you're up. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, why don't we have any help? Is it not in the budget, or how is it that we don't have any help?
Trying to straighten out all the budget, the whole town right now.
But the town accountant got let go.
Yep, and now we have a new one in there. She's straightening everything out pretty good and trying to report us to see where we are. Every department on the boat right now.
Did we get an assistant TA?
We haven't yet.
Advertise for that.
It is already advertised, and at the last select board meeting, a new town accountant was hired.
What actually happened with the assistant TA? I was kind of surprised when I heard that.
Got a better offer. He's at Pleasant Bay Community Boating. He's running Pleasant Bay Community Boating.
Oh.
Yeah, starts on Monday.
Okay. The next item is the dredging update. The piggyback dredging area, fuel dock over to beyond the launching ramp, was originally scoped out at 56,700 cubic yards. When the feds were working in the channel and came in to the federal anchorage, they actually did part of the piggyback area. So that area was then lowered to 48,000 cubic yards. There were limitations in the working. Only one scow. In dealing with the shallowness in the tide area, they could only get 10 to 12 hours in a day. So the final tally came in at 36,000 cubic yards completed. So the additional 12,000 cubic yards will be added to the rest of Area 1 in October.
So they'll start there and then go.
Yeah, the fact that the feds knocked off that amount for us saved the town $330,000. So the plan now is to attach that additional leftover 12,000 yards to the project in the fall to do rest of Area 1 and to work on the Area 2 permit. So that's what we're looking at this point for dredging. Any questions?
Pardon?
Any questions?
Yeah, what about the town mooring area that is in contention? Is there any progress on that?
That's Area 2.
Okay.
And the target date for that is in October of 2022.
Okay, so they'll go around and do the slips, and then the third part would be the...
That's right.
Okay.
And we're working on that permit now for 2022. We call that Area 2.
Oh, okay.
Are there still issues that have been raised by the feds about that area that kind of push them?
There are, and we're in the process of resolving them now, working our way through that process. Any other questions on that? Okay, the Department of Revenue conducted a review of the Enterprise Fund in 2009 at the request of the Select Board. And I trust everybody has had a chance to look at it. The request was for us to review it, go over it, and to see if any items should be pursued at this point in time. So I thought we would move right away to number 1, unless anybody would like to touch on anything prior to chapter 1.
The recommendations you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 1 is establish a comprehensive capital improvement program. Will, are you aware of the existence of such a program?
Partially.
Partially?
Yeah.
Can you share with us what's in there?
Not at this time, I can't.
It seems like a good thing to follow, pursue, I mean, but I think we need a town administrator and an assistant to help us out with that stuff.
Yeah. Did Mike leave you anything on that, Will?
Most of the stuff is pretty dated here, Joe.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's no plan in place right now. That'd be
plenty of plans. Joe, what would you like to see? Why don't we work with what the Marina Advisory would like?
Well, the request from the selectmen was to evaluate each recommendation to see if they're in existence now, and for the committee to recommend if it should be pursued. Yeah. That was the request.
But the select board recommended this, right?
I'm sorry?
The select board recommended this?
No, one of the selectmen, Selectman Curley.
Charged the committee with this?
Yes, with reviewing each recommendation to see where they stand now, if they're in existence, if they're being acted upon, and whether or not the committee feels that they should be pursued. Okay, so it sounds like number 1 should be pursued.
Selectman Curley charged the Marina Advisory with that open meeting? The whole select board?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did the whole select board charge this task to the Marina Advisory?
No, it was Selectman Curley who asked the Marina Committee with you to address this report to see what's in existence now and what should be pursued.
Okay.
So with number 1, it sounds like number 1 should be pursued. Is there general agreement on that? Comments?
I think it's a good idea. I know nothing much has happened with that.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, what is number 1? Is it to create the plan, or is it to?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to have a long range, plan, like at least on paper of what's happening, here for the next, 5 years or so. And, it would be good ammunition, for the town if you're looking to, have funding for a specific project. And it would also be good to have that in place if you're looking to do a grant.
Yeah, grant people like plans.
Yeah.
The more detailed, the better.
Yeah, I think in reading this, what I gleaned from it was concern about the overall financial condition of the fund, looking ahead, generating enough revenue with the debt, the anticipated debts and so forth. And they saw a capital improvement program as a part of that. Any other comments on number 1?
Joe, as part of the annual budgeting process for the town, typically, because I've worked in a finance committee capacity before in other towns, and typically the
can't hear you very well.
Sam, I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see if I. Let me take these out and see. Hold on one sec.
Probably because you're by the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a little far.
I think you just got to get up close to the mic, basically.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me better now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just saying, just quickly, as part of the usually the annual annual budgeting process, there's a capital component to that. I didn't know if we participated in that. Kind of looking at this on an annual basis, so we always have kind of it's typically a 5-year forward plan for capital. You know what you're anticipating for major capital needs. So I just, as being the new guy, I didn't know if that's something that we were participating in during that process.
Well, I think the auditors suggested that in the report.
Okay.
What we're saying, a 5-year plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty, I don't know if it's statutory required or that's the typical, but yeah, that's usually, and usually the go around to the different departments and funds and really solicit that information, and it's all put together into the overall plan of the town. And I know this is an enterprise fund, so it's a separate, kind of a little separate entity within the town of Wellfleet, but it still probably should be part of that process. So anyway, that's just my experience of kind of working on the other side. So. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe we kind of work in that direction and we start participating in that exercise.
Yeah, I think that's what they're recommending.
Sure. Okay.
Anything else on number 1?
Yeah, one thing. There seems to be an emphasis on, when they talk about measuring each request against a set of objective criteria, and they cite things like public safety needs, legal requirements, and so forth. And also there's mention of green technology. I think another component of that, seems to me, should be considering what improvements in terms of amenities and so forth would create a return in terms of the people that visit our harbor. In terms of improved facilities and so forth. Mm-hmm. That should be, I would think, would be part of a cost-benefit analysis. In other words, if we spend money on adding to the number of showers and improving their functionality and so on, would that eventually translate into bringing more money into the fund in the long run?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the themes in this report is they're concerned about that and talking about generating revenue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think your point is a good one, the way to generate revenue. Okay, number 2 is build a multi-year revenue and expenditure forecast. Any comments on that one? Walter?
Pretty tricky, to tell you the truth, because of the variables involved. Not just the tides and the depth of water, but the weather. There's all kinds of things that can affect the revenue of the marina. We could have a perfectly functioning marina and still have a bust year if it rains all summer. I mean, it's probably a good idea to make some kind of a forecast because the bureaucrats like that stuff. But predicting the amount of money this marina is going to make, I mean, looking at the figures they had there, which are old figures, they were bouncing all over the place.
Yeah. Maybe one way to assess it would be to look at the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I think a good way to base the projections and forecasts would be to begin to identify specific priorities and identify them as capital. In other words, put a list of what really needs to be done that needs to get paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is by setting up some sort of an organized list of what, you know, is what the goals are to project the future of the marina, if you follow me.
Yeah. It's in with the first thing, you know.
Yes. So the first thing is what really is the foundation for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing is priority number one is what makes the most money.
Right.
And we know what that is outside the slips. It's the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like a priority right now in general, right? Because we need to move our tanks and figure that all out. And I think, you know, I mean, I'm not going to get into the X, Y, and Z yet, but we do know what the priorities, the main priorities are.
Right.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah. Anybody, anything else on number 2? Okay, reviewing the marina fee schedule. Through the years, from time to time, we would look at what other marinas are charging, look at what we're charging, and then make a judgment about a plan over the next 3 to 5 years and increasing them. Obviously, that has been not on the front page for us because of the lack of dredging. So I would imagine once we are up and running after the completion of dredging, we would want to do that.
Why wait?
Yeah, I think we should, personally, my theory is we just go to the simplicity that we did before, which is just a simple, like a 5% over the course of 5 years or something, or 4 years, or whatever we think is going to hit a mark that we need to hit. I think that's the easiest way to do this, and probably the most reasonable way to do it, instead of getting hit all at once, like the shellfish department when they went from, you know, $100 to $300 for licenses, and everybody was like, but I mean, I think that's the most logical way. We did that, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I don't even know, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But that seemed to work out pretty good. I mean, you got some weird numbers, and some of the accounting got weird because Mike was like to the dime instead of rounding up or something. But other than that, I don't think it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
The only thing that concerns me is getting prices too high for the average boater. I mean, I know we have to make money, but things have to remain affordable so that people can pay their slip fees, you know, local people I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, a 5% increase is minor for anything.
After a few years, it mounts up. I'm not against it, but I'm just saying we got to watch it.
Yeah, we have approximately a 20-year wait. So
You have what, Will?
we have approximately a 20-year wait. So that could, you know, I mean, if we have such a wait and such a demand for what we're offering, you know, now is the time to start. I mean, these costs aren't coming down. We're spending a lot of money here at the Marina, 20+ million for dredging,
Mm-hmm.
for fuel tanks, and that's just the start. Rebuilding docks, you know, redoing the pier.
I would think, Will, that you'd probably be able to put together something where the expenditures for all of the slip fees and mooring fees, you know, based on X amount of percentage raised, what you'd see as a projection of money earned, you know, down the road. Is that something you're doing or could do?
Correct. I think about right now, we're running at around, let's say 600,000. So a 10% increase would add an additional 60 grand off the bat. That's an employee, you know.
Have we ever thought of doing a resident and non-resident thing too?
Just about to suggest that.
There already is one. Yeah, we have that.
But I mean, I know, but I mean, you know, like really doing the comparison on that and the comparison with other towns on it too.
Yeah, I know From the work that we did when we raised the winter fees, we are probably like the cheapest on the bay, and by a long shot. The only one that compares is a couple of odd slips, the stick slips over at Rock Harbor. Those couple that are like up against Young Sea and Cassis, they're pretty cheap for some reason, but I know from talking with them over there, they wish they weren't so cheap. But there is only a couple of slips there for the commercial vessels. The rest of the slips are going up everywhere.
Of course, Rock Harbor's limited access too, because
yeah,
there's not a lot of public slips there. Mostly charter boats in Rock Harbor.
The Orleans side has a
yeah, the Orleans side,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll put that down as something that should be pursued, given what everybody is saying. Okay, we're on to number 4, policy on the use of returned earnings. Again, they talk about generating more income, revenue infusion. He says for well-fed, it would be prudent to preserve a particular percentage of retained earnings to cover ongoing maintenance costs and to fund anticipated capital needs. Not only will such a policy reflect a strong sense of fiduciary responsibility, it could mitigate or at least protect users against future rate increases. Well, it sounds like that is something that can be pursued, huh? Comments?
Seems like a bunch of different ways of looking at the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they all kind of interconnect.
Generating income.
Yeah, get generating income, keeping track of it, figure out where to spend it.
Yeah. Number 5, multi-year cost, indirect cost agreement between the marina and the town. Anybody have any comments on that?
Haven't you been paying the town for DPW and fire and
trash?
Yeah, it's a fee that they generate. I believe last year it was $57,000.
That was the total?
Yeah, we're given the number.
Oh, they tell you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they tell us. So.
I mean, that seems to be that particular recommendation has already been followed, basically.
Does this include the use of the DPW in sand removal over there by the fuel dock?
Yeah, it's supposed to cover all indirect costs.
So like the town accountant figures that out and says, you owe us 50 grand, basically.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, like I said, that seems to be that particular paragraph seems to have been dealt with, basically. Because that's what it says to do.
Yeah, I would agree. I was just looking at the, there is a Marina Enterprise fiscal 21 budget in the annual report, and that number that Will just referenced is included in there, 55,000 it has. So to Walter's point, I think it's been addressed and is currently being reimbursed to the town for shared costs of some kind. So looks like it's a check for that one.
Okay. Number 6, at that time, that position was not occupied, and it since has been funded and occupied. So it appears that one is done, huh?
Yeah. Been dealt with.
Okay.
Who was excuse me, just quickly, when I was reading through it, it mentioned that an assistant harbor master was a selectman. Who was that?
Mike
Mike
May.
May.
That was Mike May, I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on to number 7, adopt a third-party credit card processing. Will, can you update us on that status?
That was done a long time before I came here.
So a third party is being used now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That one's
so
already been dealt with.
that's done. Number 8, verify boat excise payments. Does Town Hall provide that info to you, Will?
We work together on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was discussed a while ago. I seem to remember that being brought up at a number of meetings, like 10 years ago.
Okay, so that one is done.
Been dealt with.
Yeah. Consolidate websites.
Can I back up just one sec?
Sure.
In addition to verifying boat excise payments, what about, because this has been an issue before, Will, correct me if I'm wrong, verifying that boat owners have their insurance policies in force.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was
a number of times.
Yeah.
As I recall, last year you guys did a pretty good job of it. There was only a couple, 3 that hadn't provided. That's my memory of it. I may be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're hitting that one extremely repetitively.
You what, Will?
I said we're hitting that one very repetitively.
Uh-huh.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on. Websites are all set.
Yeah, that's the website.
There's only one, right?
Yep.
So that's been dealt with.
Okay, number 10 is the fuel pricing policy. How do you price the fuel, Will?
When we get the fuel delivered, it comes at whatever the market rate is, plus whatever the delivery company makes on that. So they charge us, and then we try to keep it consistently the lowest on the bay with between a 75 to 90 cent a gallon profit.
Uh-huh. All right, do you know, like last summer, where we stood with neighboring marinas? Were we more than them? Were we less?
Significantly less.
Yeah. I went to P-Town in August one time and fueled up, and they were $1 more a gallon. Of course, that's a private business. There no longer is a town fuel dock there.
I noticed that their diesel there was pretty cheap, but then so is ours.
Most of the boats in P-Town get the commercial boats get the diesel off the truck. The diesel at the pump would be more for the smaller sailboats and luxury boats that are diesel, because the larger luxury boats would also get it right from the truck. But they do sell a lot of diesel up there.
Yeah.
Now, is there any trucks delivering in Wellfleet or no?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, Mooney comes and
Cape Cod Oil is
Mossy
the only
Fuel.
one currently that is supposed to be delivering. I know Whiteley has inquired about how to become another fuel vendor in town. Whiteley is owned by Noonan. It's a Noonan company. So they've inquired about being able to, sell directly to the boat as well. which I'm not sure about the legality of us being the only one able to sell. Or how right now we're currently looking into with the town accountant. When we buy the fuel, we are being charged tax on it. And then we're reselling it and then paying more tax on it every quarter. So we're currently looking at, with the state as well, whether we have to buy it taxed or not. Because then, you know, obviously there's several taxes in fuel, one of them being a road tax, which is a pretty automatic thing for most places to pay it that way. But we're a marina and we're also a government entity, so it gets very tricky. So I know the accountant today does have a call into the state to try to figure that scenario out. Hopefully it'll work out a little more in our favor and we wouldn't have to pay them, and then we could pay tax on profit as opposed to all things else. But again, who knows how the state will judge that one until we really talk, until they get back to us.
Any questions or comments on that one?
That seems to be getting dealt with pretty well, I think.
So we're on now to number 11. Do the summer help that are hired, do they have job descriptions, Will?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, number 12, include account codes on receipt turnovers. You know anything about that, Will, being done?
Yeah, every time we do a turnover.
So that's being done now.
Yeah, it's been, seems odd that it wouldn't have been required back then with the turnover, but you know, most of the forms that we use are printed, and those all have to have all kinds of codes on the turnover.
Mm-hmm. Any questions on that? Number 13, log vessels electronically. That's being done in the computer, Will?
Yeah, campground started in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been done with that and our other software, mooring info.
Any questions or comments on that one?
So can you reserve a slip through this campground thing or a mooring?
No, campground is pretty antiquated, and we're trying to phase that out right now. Mooring info, you can't really do it. Really design that feature into it. In order to design that feature into that software, they'd have to compete with Docwa, and Docwa is pretty much the has kind of grabbed the market on that one.
So that campground is pretty much out of date.
Yes, we currently use campground for fuel mostly. Because mooring info, we have it set up to charge the consumer the credit card fee. Campground, we get the credit card fee because we run it through credit card terminal as opposed to running it online to the software that charges it right to the card. So the reason why is we didn't want to, every time someone came to the pump, tell them there's going to be an additional 10, 15, some odd dollars. And it gets tricky with advertising at the pump because you're supposed to advertise what you have to pay per gallon. And then you're getting fees on top of that with every little transaction. So we get really tricky, and we can't separate with the credit card processors when we go about fees. Currently, last year, how I had it set up this way, we saved them approximately $5,000 in credit card fees.
That's good.
So is there software available that could be used to track all the mooring transactions and boats?
Yeah, we use the mooring info to track all the transactions.
Mm-hmm. So you're able to track the mooring info in the computer now?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, and the last one is a recommendation, reevaluate the charge of the Marina Advisory Committee. Prior to today, we went on the town website. It was the very old one. And I remember that we had updated it after we revised the rules and regulations, Marina rules and regulations in 2010. And I couldn't find anything in the file. So I went to the select board minutes and started from 2010 and went up. And in November of 2013, the committee had submitted a revision and the select board approved it and wanted it to go for final approval as a warrant on the town meeting the following April. So it went on there, it was approved with no objection, but was never updated. So talked to the people in town hall today and submitted it to them, and it is now on the website, and I sent everybody a copy. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the copy, about the update?
I don't remember getting that one.
I don't think I saw it either, Joe.
No?
Nope.
Well, I don't remember seeing that either.
It was the report and then the two.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Minutes.
All right.
The minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, I'll get it out to you at the conclusion of this meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's also on, as of today, on the town website.
Okay.
Good.
So we'll get that out to everybody.
So clarified, Joe, what was something that we had done 10 years ago? Is that what you were saying?
It was done in 2014.
7.
So
And okay.
Now, let me ask you this. You looked at it already. Do you feel that it needs to be even further updated, or, you know, considering we're another 5-6 years ahead of that, 7 years ahead?
I would reserve judgment for your opinion on that.
Okay.
It certainly is, I think, is a good improvement over the old one. And it addresses a lot more than the older one. I will.
So this is something we had at a meeting and we all voted on it. And then
yeah, it was voted on.
along.
And then in November of 2013, it was sent to the select board for their input and approval. They approved of it, and then they directed that it be put on the warrant for the town meeting, which was the following April. And at that time, it was approved without any objection and became part of the record. So that's the updated one. They just forgot to go online and put it on the town's website. So that's where it stands right now. And it's very short. I just sent it out to everybody. If you're by your computer, you could take a quick look at it.
Yeah, I just got it.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward.
One of the changes was they changed the language from alternate to associate.
We are supposed to have 2 associate members.
Yes.
Which we don't have.
But it seems to be more in tune with what we've been doing for years and what the select board at that time wanted. Everybody have a chance to look at it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having computer issues.
Gotta get rid of that 1985 computer.
I know. I can't even open up any of these documents on my computer. I can only open them up on my phone. I don't know why.
Gotta take it right up to Best Buy.
It's a good. This computer's got nothing on it either. It's just got Windows that's old.
Okay.
Joe, maybe in the next meeting, the February meeting, then we could, because to give a chance to everybody to take a look at it, maybe we could think about that, see if it's current for us as far as what our charter is. See if we need to make another amendment to that.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, like you said, it looks straightforward, but just some of the folks that have been on the committee for a long time might look at it and say, well, we're doing a lot more things than that says. So maybe we want to update that document or that charter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be good to consider that at a separate time.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda.
Plus the other thing is we should get those other 2 members somehow. I mean, we had a couple of associate members and then things got juggled around and now we don't.
Well, Sam is an associate. There's another vacancy, but it's been posted.
Technically, there is a vacancy.
Yes, and it's been posted on the town website.
Because I know a guy that was interested.
Yeah.
I think he would be good.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put the charge on for the next meeting. And we are on to the Marina fuel tank. Will, do you have anything new on that?
Not currently.
Mm-hmm. Now,
what have you learned?
Go ahead, Will.
What have you learned?
Well, last time I'm looking at the discussion we had last time, and Martha talked about her concerns about an above ground tank being subjected to a hurricane or tornado. And then there was discussion about the size of it when Will filled us in on the dimensions of the present capacity tank above ground being 30 feet long by 10 feet wide by 10 feet high. And somebody brought up the episode over that infamous sign that wasn't that big. And then there was an expression by several people that the committee become involved in the matter and make a recommendation to the select board. A motion was made by John, seconded by Martha. The Marina Committee recommends that any above ground fuel tank at the Marina be placed adjacent to the present beach sticker office building. That's what the minutes in a note show. Did I miss anything? Anybody who was participating in that? Walter, Martha, anyone else?
Oh, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the other thing I can add is that, you know, and I think this is anecdotal, is that, you know, we also talked about the fact that, you know, if it were put over there, it would create maybe a few more parking places.
Yeah. In looking at that, I wondered when the suggestion was made about possibly putting it adjacent to the beach sticker building. I wondered about setback laws and so forth. So I asked the fire chief, and he said the regulation was 15 feet from the property line and from any throughway, any road, and a minimum of 5 feet from a building. Then he talked about how two of his vehicles, most of his vehicles are diesel fueled. We talked about two of them being gas, and how he presently has to drive them to the DPW yard to fuel up in Eastham. Told me that the police chief was very interested in getting in on that, so his 7 or 8 vehicles don't have to drive to Eastham to fuel up. And they have a rule where they get down to a half tank and they have to go and fuel up. And it was a concern of his, a real concern of his during the summer when it's busy and one officer is tied up in Eastham fueling up. So in getting that information, you know, it would appear that if they were to participate in this endeavor, that the tank would probably have to be larger. And an engineer would probably have to, you know, evaluate it and determine the size of the tank. The police chief made the comment that he uses 9,000 gallons of fuel a year. Of course, that's skewed more towards the summer than this time of year. So
they could just fill it up more often.
What?
They could just fill it up more often.
So that's what I know, you know. It would, if the thing was going to grow in size, perhaps, you know, the idea of placing it underground should be looked at. So I asked the fire chief his opinion on that. And he said years ago he wouldn't recommend it, but to quote him, "I'm amazed at how far the technology has come, and I have no reservations at all about it being put underground." So that's just about everything that I've learned since that time. Your thoughts?
Who's saying it can't go underground?
Nobody.
It can. It's just expensive.
No, actually, the select board prefers that it. Helen prefers that it not. We talked about this last meeting. Helen prefers that it be above ground. Also, that is what they voted on at town meeting to appropriate the funds.
Yes.
Be above ground.
Yes.
And the tank, the 30-foot tank, I believe it's 37, but that would be a significant upgrade to the tank that we have. That would be an 18,000 gallon tank as opposed to a 10,000.
So Will, that would be 37 by 10 by 10?
Yes, approximately.
Yeah.
Depending on the exact tank that is purchased.
And that would be 18,000.
Yep.
And now we're split at what, 6,000 gas and 4 diesel?
Correct.
So what would your thought on the 18,000 the split be?
We'd have to see exactly what tank it is and what the split would be, how they make it, and what would fit in that area. I mean, it could be manufacturer, it could be a foot here, a foot there, a little bit different. We have to narrow that down to the exact space and dimensions that we were working with.
Yeah. Would we be anticipating a greater demand of fuel with the completion of dredging?
A greater demand of gas.
Yeah.
How much more did you do this summer?
I haven't fully totaled that yet.
Yeah, it was better though, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the increased volume.
A lot of voters this year.
Yeah.
It's only going to be more.
So if we bring in the police and fire gas vehicles, gas fuel vehicles in on this, what's the benefit to the marina, I guess, other than we're good guys?
Right.
It's a town benefit, basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they don't have to. I understand they don't have to go, but I just
significant town-wide benefit.
They would pay, obviously, too.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay. So there's like a cost charge for the fuel to the other departments for that.
Yeah.
So we get the profit on that, or is it just a cost? Or I'm just curious how.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Those haven't been finalized. I don't think we'd be marking it up to other entities.
No, I don't. I agree. I was just wondering. Yeah, and it's certainly from a convenience and a safety factor, meaning all the cruisers and the vehicles are in town all the time versus in Eastham. That's a benefit, I guess. So
we also have more cruisers at the harbor.
Yeah.
Also, our fuel buying we'd increase by. I think the town uses approximately 15 gallons per year. 15,000 gallons per year. So we'd be increasing our buying capacity as well.
Yeah, good point.
So you could get a better deal, maybe.
Volume discount, yeah.
Hopefully.
Some years ago, the DPW put a diesel tank in for their vehicles, but they didn't put gas in with it at the time. So they're getting theirs from diesel.
The fire department has a diesel tank as well.
Yeah.
Flip, real quick, we did approximately 120,000 in fuel this past summer.
Dollars or gallons?
That's dollars.
Okay.
Yeah. Quicker to do dollars on the computer here. Because the price obviously fluctuated quite a bit over time.
I would think that would go up with dredging.
Yeah. Which would create a heavier demand on our staff. And that fuel dock area. Yeah, gallons will take a little bit more time with this.
Any other?
Now, just a comment that years ago, the town used to fuel up at the mobile station, you know, all the and everybody. And I wonder why they have to go to Eastham.
The police chief told me that he put out an RFP to the 3 gas stations in town, and none of them bid on it.
Okay. Just
I know why.
Curiosity there.
Okay.
Well, there's a new guy in town, the Cumberland Farms, right? So maybe they're maybe they'd play.
No,
yeah, it's
I doubt it. Corporate policy on that. They won't do it. The only thing I suggest to the town is use the smart pay for 10 off a gallon and hook it up to the town checking department, the town checkbook.
Oh yeah. Well, the old police.
Yeah, I
drove away from the mobile station times with his fuel hose still hooked into the truck.
Yeah. Well, they used to have the keys to the tanks or the locks on the That's how they did it back in the day. It was like, oh, the cops would come in and just unlock and fill up and leave. So in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably why a lot of these guys are like, because they need to have a 24-hour supply. That's probably why these guys checked out on it, the local guys. Everybody froze.
Anything else on that? Okay. Marina concerns and suggestions, anything on that?
I have one little thing. There's a bunch of boats at the town pit. I wondered if we could somehow auction them off and make a couple dollars for the marina.
Are those the kayaks?
There's more than kayaks. There's a couple of power boats out, at least 2 or 3 power boats, a couple of sailboats. I walk by the top of the pit when I go for my walk, and I see them down there. I haven't gone down close and counted them, but there's a bunch of boats down there that are just sitting there doing nothing. And I think if we got rid of them, maybe we'd make 20 grand or something, but we'd get something for them, you know? Just an idea.
That's something you're interested in, Will?
The legality of impounding and auctioning would probably be a pretty big undertaking with a vessel. It'd probably be significantly a large undertaking. It would obviously involve the town's law firm as well. And also we'd have to try to significantly find the owner of the vessel and contact them. And for the stuff that's down there, we do need a plan on how to clean up the pit, including our docks that are down there. But I think auctioning it off is a tricky one.
Wasn't there something going on in recent years about auctioning off the kayaks in the spring? Wasn't Mike doing that for a while?
I haven't seen anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
When they had that Harbor Fest, they auctioned off a couple of kayaks and things like that.
Yeah, I think it was just kayaks.
I think for a municipality to do something like this, it has to be declared surplus. And it has to be declared surplus by, trying to contact owners and making sure that, that they don't have any legal jurisdiction or rights to those vessels anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either because they haven't been registered or because taxes haven't been paid or they've just been abandoned. But I think, they would have to be somehow declared surplus by the town in order to do something like auctioning them off.
Well, the police auction off stuff that they impound every once in a while. I mean, they can do that.
Yeah.
And I know if you look at, let's say, bay sales or Wellfleet Marine's yards, and you see a lot of, like if you look right on the highway, bay sales yard, there's a few really, really old sailboats. It's very hard for him to get rid of those boats. It's really hard to get rid of a boat.
Well, unlike a bicycle that the police may be auctioning off, there's a title and ownership rights to a boat.
Yeah.
So
just an idea, just something to I looked at them and I thought maybe we could do something with them, but maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. John Reel was in touch. They had completed a draft of the new harbor management plan. And he's doing some revisions on it and is going to get the final draft to me, which I will get to you. And we'll put it on the agenda for our review. He's soliciting comments around town before it's finalized. So I think it would be in the Marina's best interest if we reviewed it and offered some comments on it. Also, I haven't gotten it yet, but Coastal Studies has issued a report on the content of the Black mayonnaise. And as soon as I get that, I will send it out as well. Anybody have anything else?
Is this a new study? I mean, they did that already, I thought.
I don't know. It sounds like it's recent.
Because I know a couple of years ago at the Harbor, their seminar in the fall, I thought that was presented a couple of years ago. That now maybe it was a preliminary analysis. I'm not sure, but I remember that being discussed at some point.
Yeah, I'll find out. And if it's an updated one, I'll get it out to everybody. And we'll put it on the agenda. Okay, looking at the calendar.
Before we set another meeting, we've talked about a lot, and in my years here with the Marina Advisory, we've talked about a lot of different things and a lot of different ways and different things we could do. And even tonight, we talked about capital improvement plans, fee increases, scheduling, things like that. But what we haven't really done is come up with a plan to accomplish any of that. So
I think Will's right there. I think that, you know, there needs to be some plan set in motion to come up with exactly what we talked about doing tonight, and, you know, putting some type of timeline on it. You know, perhaps, you know, on some of these things, you know, we need an additional meeting or a small seminar of some kind, you know, to maybe assist, you know, and I know we're just an advisory committee, but maybe to assist the harbor master in doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a first step for sure, but I also think we need like town administrator or assistant administrator, somebody like that to really give us some guidance on.
And we need some input and some data. I mean, we need to go on facts. You can't make plans without having it, you know, some idea of, you know, what we're dealing with. I'd like to see some numbers. I'd like to see some plans, some projections as to where we are, what we're going to do, priorities, all the things that are listed in that capital plan model. You know, those things, we don't know any of those things for the most part. I'd like to be able to have some insight into this, but I don't know where to start because, you know, I don't have enough information. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
So why don't we put one foot in front of the other and start small and get this going?
Well, yeah, exactly. I
mean, we can come up with plans and ideas and schedules and then bring them to the town management and present that and go back and forth about any kind of, you know, if we want to build something, we got to pay for it. So knowing that we want to build something, we come up with a fee structure to build that.
Yep.
You know, if we just start doing this instead of going around and around talking about these things,
I
think we really get ahead here. And you know, we don't need 100% of everything to get started. I mean, we could put ideas down on paper and say, this is what we want to do. This is where we want to go. But let's say rebuilding the pier. Okay. Then we can look into, or that group of people that want to look at that can look into how much it costs. How are we going to make the money for that? Where are we going to get it? The grant.
Right, specifics.
Yeah. But
Well, do you know what the debt the enterprise fund is carrying right now?
I think we're, well, give me 1 second. I'll try to pull up that
Sure.
It's in the town annual report. I know that. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I've seen it. I can't quote it, but it's there. To David's point, if you look in the annual report of the town, there's historical information on the enterprise fund, the Marina Services Enterprise Fund, as well as a proposed fiscal budget for the next year. So as far as dealing with, you know, facts, that would probably be a good place to start. And with regard to capital, like I said, you know, I agree with Will 100%. You have to kind of start at the grassroots level and look at what the needs are. And then the process of how it actually gets proposed to the town or how it gets paid for is almost that's a secondary step after we develop the plan. And ultimately they're going to ask the question that, well, how are we going to pay for this guy, right? Does it make sense to do it on the basis of the enterprise fund is supposed to be a standalone fund. So
yeah, I think they're going to want to know the debt.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to know what kind of revenue that is being generated,
right.
what kind of debt we could take on.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you issue debt, you issue debt through the town, it's very, very inexpensive and long-term. So, if you did a pier project, just for example, I have no idea the cost, but you amortize that over 30 years, you don't have to raise a ton of money every year to order to justify that project. I'm not saying, I'm just using that as an example, but that's the type of, kind of prioritize what really needs to be done in order to bring the marina up to whatever's what we call our current standard. So,
Yeah.
Our current debt payments are approximately $105,000 with a principal, and the interest would be $19,125, and that was for fiscal year 2021. I think I have an email from Miriam. I had her look that up. I think we had about 5 years left on that, if that's correct.
And the total debt is $105,000.
Oh, that's what we pay every year.
No, that's the total debt service I see on this budget that Will just referred to is $124,000 that'd be from July 1 of this year to June of next year. So just what you said, Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's about 5 years left on it. I think it was like 2025 or somewhere around there. That debt service will be done.
So that's $540,000 or about $550,000 roughly.
Yeah.
So that's for the last
with the interest
that we made rebuilding the pier and all that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that being said, with the 5-year outlay, looking at year 6, there's another $100,000, $120,000 a year project.
Of course.
Well, I know we do a 5-year capital plan, but I think for the marina, it should probably be, with all the structure and improvements that we're going to need here, I feel that if we could put together even maybe a 10-year rough draft to constantly go back and look at, it might make a little more sense where our debt would be more long-term as opposed to the standard 5-year boat, truck, tractor equipment, that sort of stuff. If we put more of a long-term picture together, and you know what, we can even start with dreams and wishes and narrow it down, as long as we have something to work on.
Well, how about you coming with a needs plan, what we need right now for capital improvements, not a dream or a wish, but the updates that really need to be done. And that could be a start of our discussion.
Currently, it's the fuel tanks. That's
but there are docks that, the docks that need to be done as well, right?
Yeah, they do, but the fuel tank is priority number 1. That's the absolute first priority because
cash cow.
Insurance.
And it is over 30 years old, and we need to replace that fuel tank.
They won't insure it.
The liability there is more than any other liability we have.
And it's one of your biggest money makers.
It is the biggest money maker.
Yeah, first and foremost.
I mean, Will, are you thinking that you need to do this in the next 12 to 15 months? Is that what you're thinking for the fuel tank?
I'm hopeful that working
because I'm just thinking of scheduling because the town, I don't know when the town meeting is going to be scheduled, but I guess if that's number one priority, we should get on our horse, so to speak, and get that in front of the, them, because the fiscal budget for next, for next year is going to come up in the next, whatever, 3-4 months, whenever the meeting is going to be. So otherwise we have to kind of wait a whole cycle for that. So
yeah. So we've already approved, the town's already approved the money for it.
Yeah, it's already been approved.
Yeah. Okay, yep. Awesome. So it's just a question of contracting and planning and contracting it. Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't know that.
Nope, and that's where we are right now, and that's where we're currently working with the engineer. That is why we brought up the placement of it. That's a big portion of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Where it's placed.
Yeah. So the next thing, I guess, would be to think kind of in the same vein for, are there other things that we want to get in the annual operating budget cycle, so to speak, that anything besides the fuel tank that is a quote high priority. So
the docks is another priority. Rebuilding the couple last sections of that. Replanking the pier, that's another one. Residing the pier, possibly.
Bathroom.
Yeah. I mean, well, see, these are the big ones. The bathhouse. I mean that. Yep. More so with renovating. Non-renovations are expensive compared to rebuilding.
Yep.
So if we were to rebuild the bathhouse, maybe that'd be incorporated in all the studies that we've had done of bathhouse studies over the years, or even the new building studies, which is where we go, like Sarah Peak suggested, with the Seaport Economic Grants for new buildings and new structures, new infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff we got to tell the selectman in his.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like the docks and even the electrical and all that kind of stuff should be there should be a budget every year for that, because it's always going to have to be done. There's always something that needs to get fixed between the water lines and the electrical and the planks. Mm-hmm. There should be like a set maintenance budget. I don't know why. A line item. Thank you. For
I think
every year.
That's what the DOR report recommend, so that there are no surprises, and they talk about 5-year projection.
Yeah, there always has been one. The problem
there's been a line item.
Yep.
That they have. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We have repair and maintenance services, contract services. And both those are line items that have, I mean, as far as I can go back, I've seen back to 2005 and those were in it. It's really a matter of generating the revenue to put more money into the line items. So if we want to do more of that, we need to come up with more money, which is probably always the case, isn't it?
Well, yeah, of course.
So currently, trying to find my current one.
So if you do a 5% increase on the slip holders, you're going to have some funds to maybe help you with these maintenance projects. I don't know where you allocate any increase in the fees, but I mean, once you raise a fee, it's going to help your line item.
Correct. And then
I know you don't like that, but Walter, but eventually we all got to pay for it.
Yeah, then you play the Ouija board to try to figure out how to keep it all balanced.
Exactly.
Well, the only advantage is that enterprise fund allows us to retain earnings.
Yes. Yep. Which is one of the reasons, or the main reason, that fund was actually, that review was actually done.
Yeah.
Was because in 2009, they wanted to take the money. And that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And when I was on the Marina Advisory when that fund was started, and the selectmen went to the State House to object to the passage of the town meeting vote, because they wanted that money for the general fund. So they've been trying to get a hold of that money for a long time.
Okay.
So I haven't received my proposed budget back from the town because that's currently in work, but trying to keep everything balanced, some of the things that we've done, boost that return maintenance line and boost the contract services as well, and significantly upgraded those two sections. We're trying to take money out of other things like credit card fees, or, you know, the debt went down. So we're going to take a little money off of that because that went down and try to put it into this. But I can only work with the amount of money that we've been getting in and the amount that we've been taking in over these years. So going forward, I can't allocate more money unless we make more money.
Well, for some capital improvements, we can look for grants like buildings and stuff, right?
Yeah, we could look for, I mean, you know, there are grants out there for $5 grand, 10 grand for anything. I mean, we could significantly try to research grants.
Does the town still have a grant writer? I mean, we used to.
Currently, no.
No, we don't have, I don't believe there is one now. Alex Boyd did it years ago.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I think we should continue it next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 weeks would be the first Wednesday in February, February the 3rd. What are your thoughts on that?
Works for me.
Works okay.
Looks okay for me.
I think so.
Yeah, no problem.
One thing I would suggest about that is if we wanted to raise fees, we'd have to do it then and then go to a select board meeting, which would postpone that till the next select board meeting. Then we could publish our fees.
The selectmen have to approve any fee increases.
Correct. So if we want to start this now, it might be more prudent to meet earlier and get that going, you know, even if it is just for a fee increase, to get that to the select board if we all want to do that this year.
I think it's prudent. I think we need to be, I think we got to get some more money in now that we're going to have more water. I think people, I mean, you know, it might not seem like we haven't had a fee increase in how many years, Will? I forget.
I haven't seen one.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
And, you know, it's, we can't fix things on our own without having everybody participate. So, I mean, it's you know, a 5% increase over 3 years on a $1,500 slip is like $300. I mean, in the first year, it's $75 on your average slip. Doesn't seem like a lot to me as a slip holder and as a person that worked, you know, for a 6-month period of time. That doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it adds up when you've got, you know, all the slips out there. And I agree, bro. I think we do need to really get that on the docket for as soon as we can.
Yeah.
The next meeting, shall we look at the present fee schedule and then discuss where to go from that? From there?
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, or we could. I mean, there's probably places that might still need to be tweaking. I mean, we've tweaked it for years, but it's getting closer to being right. Don't you think? Well, I mean, you know, where things make sense.
Yes, we should.
Well, do you want to bring want to send out the present fee schedule and we can use that as a springboard?
Yeah.
Sure.
And my only suggestion would be to do it sooner than a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's 3 weeks from now, actually.
That's what?
It's 3 weeks from now, the 3rd of February.
Yep.
It is, yeah.
We're in the middle of January, basically. Yep.
Yeah.
And then when would be the next selectmen's meeting after that? Anybody know?
Well, I can pull it up.
There is one on the 26th of January, and then one on February 9th.
So there would be one short the week after that meeting, roughly.
Well, if we did 2 weeks, the 27th, then we could present it to at the 9th. Or even the 3rd. Although I think you need more than a week to get it.
As long as you get on, I think I don't know what their lead time for agenda is for the Board of Selectmen. So
it's not much, believe it or not.
Okay. 48 business hours.
Okay.
So if we missed the 3rd, we could definitely get it into that next meeting.
Right.
48 for the posting, but if you want to get it on their agenda, I believe it's a day or two before that.
Right.
Well, maybe we should meet the 27th and make sure.
Okay, you want to do that?
Well, how much time do you have to post a meeting? Week?
Well, if you have a Wednesday meeting, I usually post it by Friday. No later than 5.
That's plenty of time to post it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking he was thinking next Wednesday. Sorry.
No, 2 weeks.
So are we looking at 2 or 3 weeks? 2 weeks would be the 27th, 3 would be February 3rd.
I think why not do the 27th? I don't know. It's up to you guys.
Better safe than sorry.
That's what I'm thinking. If you want to get it onto that February 9th Selectmen's meeting, maybe we should do the 27th just to make sure we're in time for that kind of a thing.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Yep.
Is that okay with you, Will? What do you think?
You know, just a thought. We haven't raised them in a while. Each time in the past they've been raised when we've gone like in a 3-5 year plan. We've taken a quick look at other harbors. We don't, get an idea of where they are, so that we perhaps may have to go up, may want to go up more than 5%.
Well, if you do it in an increment to, like 3 or 4 year period, it's softer on the voter, but it's still a fair amount of money if you
the last time it was a 5-year program.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So maybe we should present another 5-year program.
I would tend to agree with that. I would say that would be right now. I would vote for that myself because I think it's prudent.
But we need the facts and figures first.
Yeah, we need to look at it. I think you definitely want to look at the schedule because there could be some places that need tweaking. I'm not 100% sure everything's on mark.
In addition to the 5%, rounding off a little better would be nice for everyone.
You like that, don't you? Yeah. Round up.
Yeah.
$1,293.20.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It makes more sense to round up. It's just easier accounting for sure.
Yeah. Make it an even number.
Yep.
Okay. So are we looking at 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I think 27th, right?
27th.
27th.
Okay.
That's 2. I think that's 2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks. January 27th. Okay. Will, you'll get out the present schedule to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have to make a proposal that night, correct, as a committee and vote on it,
Sure.
what we want to submit to the selectmen, right?
Right.
So do we need any market data, Will, or anything, or are we comfortably below the market that we can go up and without, impacting?
Well, I'm gonna do 2 things. One is I'll tell you that we're well below. We're really underrating ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're below the market value. But 2, what I have in another pile in another desk is all the local marinas around our area. And they're all public information, they're all online, but I will submit that with our current fee schedule to you. That way you have all the Barnstable, P-Town. I think don't know if Nauset Marine East is public or not, but you know, it's respectably close, just a different side. So a couple of those, significantly, I think, you know, the focus on Barnstable, Dennis, and P-Town would be good.
Yep. Yeah, because I think that'd be the first question that the selectman would ask, right? You know, is this a prudent thing to do? And based on the market and from what you're saying, well, it definitely, you know, we have some headroom in our fee structure. So,
and I think the majority of the act being this year would be more on the commercial aspect of the fees, more for the commercial vessels, whereas, you know, most of them had a pretty crappy year. So that would be, I think, something to keep in mind, that those slips, there are a small number of them. I don't know how it'll go about. I mean, obviously we have the mosquito dock and the L pier, and that's all separate fee structure anyway. Not hitting commercial vessels with the same, or giving it more thought for them.
yeah.
Right.
Well, we just tested all that stuff recently. The commercial stuff. Yeah.
The winter fees did go up. That was the only fee increase that we've really seen in any time. And winter fees have been really well. As you can see, we have a lot more boats on the pier now this winter.
Yeah.
And people are more conducive to that, and they've been very a lot easier to work, making that opportunity to them.
Do we have currently have a two-tiered structure for commercial versus recreational, or?
No, we have more of a separate area. And it gets, you know, the front side being the L pier and the mosquito docks would be purely.
So it's a lower rate.
And it is a lower rate to begin with.
Yeah.
So, and then out back is where it gets confusing, because some of the slips, a small number, are commercial vessels on the slips.
Well, with the fee schedule, could you also send an outline of what you just said, how the fees vary and where? Because I'm wondering if we may want to look at that and change it and recommend a change.
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, if we come up with something good, we have the power to do that, and we can make a difference, you know, and give that to the select board. And maybe any I mean, just because anything here was the way it was for 20 years doesn't mean it can't change. So, you know.
So that'll be the main agenda item for next meeting, plus the NRAB thing.
Yeah. So we'll look for the schedule to work on, as well as an outline of the charges in the different areas.
Yeah, and one thing to go along with that is, when are we going to look at telling what slips that we're pulling the docks for dredging?
Well, what will I didn't hear you?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
When dredging comes along next fall, we're going to have to pull docks earlier than normal. So we're going to have to set up a structure for that. Whereas commercial obviously has to have precedent over recreational, space-wise, but we should come up with a plan to implement that.
I think a good note at the beginning of the season, just asking people, you know, if they're not going to be using their vessels, if they could pull them earlier because of that, and just let them know up front, because I think a lot of people probably aren't aware, believe it or not, that we're actually getting dredged next fall that have boats. Yeah. So we'll just have to get the word out.
I think we got to have some kind of hard date. You know, you got to have some kind of hard date.
Oh, event, yeah, for sure. But you know, also, you know, try to encourage people, if they don't use their boat after, you know, Labor Day, get it out, you know.
Yeah, and that goes out with the renewals typically.
Right. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
We do have the power now to email blast every user in the harbor, but it would be good, or I think more prudent, to send them that with their new fee.
For sure.
Yeah. All
the
at once.
Another
not
suggestion is
full pages, but
yeah, good idea.
Another suggestion is that like, remember last season we were letting guys come off the moorings and come into the slips because of the birds. I think maybe if you say, well, hey, we can move you to a mooring, they might want to take their boat out right away.
It's not going to be.
Yeah, but that's all going to be dredged. Everybody's got to be out of there, man.
Well, the mooring basin's not going to be dredged, but I mean, I'm just saying in terms of getting people off the boats, get them out. Like if people aren't using their boats, they should, eventually just. I mean, I'd like to leave it in as long as I possibly can, but if I know I'm going to be in the way of a dredge project, get it out. It's plain and simple.
Right. I think in the future, though, we should consider extending the season, because I mean, there's a lot of people this year that I think use the boats. I noticed that myself, that there were a lot of boats because of COVID, if that was the reason, that these boats stayed in the water a lot longer than I've ever seen. And they were being used. Would you agree, Will?
Yeah. A lot of them were. People were down here left and right using them. And again, with more water and fair wind, they will be continuing to use them more. I think that trend seems to be kind of
I can speaking for myself. I had charters well into October this year.
Me too.
Well, there you go. There you could. Then there's another reason to justify your raising the fees if you give them an extra 15 days at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think when we
not this year
winter fees last year, that was kind of a grace period that everyone had until November 1st.
Right.
We gave that grace period to everyone last year when we proposed those things. Thinking also that most people want their boat in for Oyster Fest, even though it didn't happen.
Right.
It was better than fighting everyone to get their boats out.
Right.
So.
It staggers it out a little bit easier for the guys that are pulling them too. Gives them a little more time.
I think for the short term, we should be just concentrating on, like Will said, an email blast to let them know a hard date for this year, right. and incorporating a plan for increased fees moving forward, based on what we see when Will gives us that information for this, the layout of all the different the structures or the fee structures.
I think we're going to have to remind people more than once. I think, including a letter with the fees and then an email blast too, or maybe a couple, because, people don't pay attention. People are surprised that we're dredging. They don't even know we're dredging.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it could even come down to a giant banner down at the harbor here.
There you go.
In August to let everyone know, the dock's coming out.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't see the dredging during the summer. And a lot of them are gone by October 1st.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think again, it's all about organization and more clarity going on, more of a fluid movement here to do all that. So.
Okay, so we're looking at the 27th of January at 7. I'll get the info out. We'll get his out, and we have an agenda to move on. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
John? Second?
Second.
Dave? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yep, then.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
all right.
Take care.
We'll see you.
Have a nice weekend.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.